Late Night Health continues. Our guest is Daniel-Fabricant from the Natural Products Association. NPA is responding to the Oregon Attorney General's lawsuit against GNC. Can you explain that?
Yeah, talk about a bank shot, huh? It's kind of it's straight as a dog's leg, as my grandfather used to say. FDA, for whatever reason, somewhat seems to delegate their authority to the New York Attorney General on a particular ingredient. And I'm not going to comment on the lawfulness of the ingredient or unlawfulness of the ingredient, but FDA had no prior actions against the ingredient, but yet is serving as effectively the state's expert on the case, which, just from a there are some laws against that. There's some regulations within FDA against that. But furthermore, I think that, I think in a lot of aspects, FDA is funded on federal tax dollars that are being used to handle a state enforcement activity. That just doesn't seem, I don't think people want to think about that when they're paying their taxes. They probably would think twice about paying them. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Well, we always think about paying why we're paying them, don't we?
Somewhat, but this is all the more reason as to, it's really concerning to us that FDA is delegating its responsibility to the states instead of using its own enforcement authority. If FDA finds an ingredient to be violative, then it should take action. And
they haven't done that.
That's right.
Did they do that in New York as well with the Attorney General there?
No. They had different experts. The New York Attorney General, they were looking to an academic. It was interesting. They were looking to an academic who had some expertise in dinosaur DNA to evaluate plant DNA. But that's, it's a different, I guess a different story for a different time, right?
Yeah, like millions of years difference. So I would think. And I believe they backed down. New York backed down?
Well, for the most part, there was one settlement with GNC, with New York Attorney General. You can call it a settlement. I think it was fairly, it was kind of much ado about nothing. I think what happened there, while it was troubling, and certainly we got, tarred and feathered in the press as an industry. I think it was pretty clear for folks when they started to kind of pull the curtain back. They really saw that the Attorney General of New York didn't really have a basis for which they were making some of the statements they made. For one example, they went out, when they launched that, it was in February, and the press release was, this is a public health catastrophe. Well, then they settled with GNC, and they let the exact same products back on the shelves that were a public health catastrophe. And I think everyone was left kind of scratching their head going, okay, this was clearly what we said it was all along, kind of a press-getting issue, not really a consumer protection issue.
And many people that I've talked to over the years here on the show and even before do not realize that there are regulations about what's in a bottle of a supplement. If it says vitamin C, it needs to be tested. It needs to actually be vitamin C in that bottle. Right.
Exactly, Mark. It's the vitamin C's got to be there. How much? If they say it's 500 milligrams, it's got to be 500 milligrams. They've got to make sure that there's, no nothing that would contaminate or adulterate the product there. all that's already required by federal law. So, yeah, that with the AG was unfortunate because none of those firms had ever had any sort of federal, never been any federal findings, and all those firms had been inspected per the Dietary Supplements CGMPs, which are a stringent rule, and there were no adverse findings. So really, it was just. It's unfortunate. It was a bit of a press exercise. This issue in Oregon is slightly different.
You mentioned GMP. I think that's what you said. Good manufacturing practices, and which means that if you're a member of the NPA, you follow these rules. If you're not a member of the NPA and you're manufacturing products, you still are required to follow these rules. There are manufacturers, like in any business, that are unethical, and they should be shut down.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And those guys tend not to be members of the NPA, and or any trade association for that matter. These are a federal law, the GMPs. You have to follow them. You can't, you really can't. You can't cut corners on quality. Everyone wants products to have, they've got to meet certain quality standards. There's got to be a floor, and everyone has to improve from there. And if folks aren't going to meet the floor, it's not acceptable. But I think with the AG situation, it wasn't companies who weren't meeting the federal standards. It was an issue that really was unrelated to the product quality and wasn't scientifically accurate.
Right, and is the issue is completely different in Oregon. They're looking at one particular element that are in supplements that GNC is selling.
Yeah, it was something that GNC was an ingredient that Oregon, for whatever reason, had a question and then got a memo from FDA kind of confirming their thinking. But again, I think that, really that it's weird because they mentioned two ingredients. They mentioned picamillan and BMPA. The retailer, in question here, GNC, once FDA took action on BMPEA, stopped selling it completely. So, it's weird in that the agency took an action on one ingredient, which was the right action, appropriate. The firm took corrective actions, and then another one where FDA didn't take action, and yet the firm was supposed to know that they were on double secret. That ingredient was on double secret probation. I mean, it's not really. It really makes no rhyme or reason.
Dan, we're out of time. I appreciate your time. We'll have you back very soon, and I will give you a call in the next few days.
Thanks.
Okay? Thank you.
Great
I appreciate your time. You too. Daniel-Fabricant from the Natural Products Association. You can check them out at npa.org or take a look at latenighthealth.com and look up Daniel-Fabricant. All right, we're coming up on the next segment, and we've got Jim Lavelle, and we're going to talk about SAD. I'm sad. We'll find out more about SAD coming up.